Hi there, Vibe Gardeners. Welcome to another edition of Vibe Gardening Inform Edition, where we're going to be talking about the first month updates on this tap water versus RO water usage for hydroponic spinach growing. With that said, let's go. All right, guys, to kind of remind you guys what we've done here. So we started off by setting up a filter for tap water. We're just going to take out about 83% of the chlorine in the form of free chlorine and chloramine. And then we set up the experiment where we basically put in this row and that one over there of spinach growing for using the RO water, using MaxiGro from General Hydroponics. And here with this container here, we used the filtered tap water with the MaxiGro. And the objective here is to, instead of testing on time because of the differences in the growing speed of the spinach, what I've done is I'm going to do average weight of fresh harvested spinach on each one of them to see at the end of each plant's life what we can actually achieve. And due to the lifespan of spinach, I don't think it's going to take that long. And as we can see already, and actually from already the setup video, it seems like it's going to work. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how I essentially set up the nutrition and how I meet the challenges of being able to mix my solution here. And then a little bit about the weighing methodology I use and also result from the first month of operations. And of course, as usual, I'll give you guys a close-up as I talk about how they're doing as well. So with that said, here we go. All right, so one of the things that we want to address first is the nutrition mixing. So one of the things that we talk about with the beginning is with RO water, you're starting off with only 26 ppms of essentially dissolvable solid in here, or the TDS here. And so you have a lot of control here in that when you put things in there, you know pretty much almost everything you put in is what you're getting. And it's really hard to really approximate how much I'm putting in there because there is just so much other stuff in this tap water that I'm going to basically hit approximately about 600 to 700 ppm of nutrition. So, or about 800. And because each one of them is, so basically this one right here, what I've done was I also added calcium, magnesium, or CalMag supplement, so which really makes things hard to measure. And as we can see here, these guys are getting really big, and they're actually significantly bigger than the tap water one. And but the thing here is that this one right here, it's easy to measure exactly what I have going on, putting here. In that I got only 26 ppm of RO water, and by this point I'm not even sure how much of the CalMag is left. Here on the other hand, with the tap water, it's really hard to actually tell exactly how much is being absorbed by the plant, because not everything from tap water is absorbable by spinach. So as time goes on, the actual salt level, the ppm or the EC, just drifts higher. And so I basically gave up on measuring the nutrition I add after the fact because it's just all over the place and almost impossible to measure. And what I do instead is I actually pre-mix my anything I add in here beforehand, knowing what it is. Because basically my tap water gets filtered down under 300 ppm. So I basically try to hit about approximately a little over 1,000 ppm at the end, or 2 EC. Basically that makes things somewhat semi-measurable on this and makes my life a little easier when one can tell you that I'm putting the same amount of nutrition in there. So that's what it's getting, and I'm not adding any calcium, magnesium in there. So that kind of adds to the stability of the EC. And that's kind of like the advantage of RO, is that you have a lot more measurable and predictable EC. When it comes to pH though, the funny part is MaxiGro essentially gets the pH to drift downwards with spinach. So I always have to continually observe and monitor my pH on the RO water and have to basically put in pH up of all things in there to have it drift up. Whereas with the tap water one, the pH is essentially 100% stable. MaxiGro, in this case with the hydroponic spinach, is almost perfectly stable in that there's almost zero drift on the pH. It does drift up a little bit, but we're talking about 0.01 pH every week or so. And honestly, that could just be margin of error on my reading. And so I basically don't even check the pH anymore because of how stable it is. Maybe every couple of weeks I would check, but it just, after like 2 weeks or so, it's just not worth it anymore. And I just take it as a gift from using tap water. So the way that I measure the weight of my harvest is I would essentially use my my colander to harvest the leaves. And then what I would do is I would take my kitchen scale that I use for weighing my coffee with my espresso machine in the morning, and then I would essentially put them in a plastic container after, of course, zeroing out the scale with the plastic container first, empty. And then I would take the measurement. So here is a picture of what those two look like. And I would basically take a photo of this and save it in my Google Photos. And then I would put them in an album. And then with a timestamp on the photo, I'm able to create a log of the measurements I'm getting. As you can see from the log, the screenshot of the log, it is a lot more on the RO right now. And I think part of it is due to the fact that it was already more developed when I put it in there, but it is significantly more, even though it's less plants. So already I'm thinking that potentially the RO water with better control and potentially more favorable measurements here, but like I said, I'm losing a definitive count on the ppm due to the calcium, magnesium, with the CalMag supplement being introduced, and all that crazy TDS drift coming from the tap water. That it's just that the higher predictability coming from RO water is really helping me here. All right, so for the above lid close up, it's really not that close up because I really think it's better to show you guys from above first in comparison the size of leaves. So this right here is one of the largest leaves I have, which is about approximately, I would say, the length of my hand here, as you can see. But then if you take in comparison to this guy right here, this one right here is at least 50% larger than this one. So already we see from the side-by-side comparison, like the RO water one is, the leaf are significantly bigger. And these guys are at the point where I think they're pretty close to their peak right now. And it's just clear that the RO water one is just bigger. And as usual, I'll give you guys a under the lid look. And as you can see right here, it is very much pristine white down here with all the roots. And same thing over here with this one. Yeah, everything here is just, both containers have pristine, clean roots, showing basically the lack of coloration added by MaxiGro and the healthy growth of these spinach. So both are thriving. It's just that, I mean, look at the size of this thing. This is like a 4 architecture in comparison to this. Alright guys, so that's it for this update. And as you can see right here with these spinach growing in the RO and tap water, they both seem very healthy, but we are seeing a significant leaf size difference when it comes to the RO water. And I assume it's mostly likely due to the more predictable nature of maintaining a RO water system over tap water. Though it's definitely doable, I'm seeing a lot of EC or TDS drift with the ppm. Though this does come with the advantage of pH stability, in that I've had to adjust the pH on the tap water, whereas to have to consistently increase the pH on the RO water system. So hope you guys learned a little something from this one, and I hope you guys tune back for next month and see where things go from there. With that said, keep gardening and keep vibing. Let's go.